relationship between Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow is probably one of the greatest relationships ever created. Larry Hama being on board gave us the stamp of approval. We've all loved his work for an entire generation.
When I did the comic, it was completely character-driven. The readers would come back to spend more time with characters they liked. I came up with the backstory about Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow being comrades.
Do it.
Snake Eyes saves him. He brings him back to train him up. Anytime you're ready.
Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow are the brother loyalty story.
I can offer you purpose. It's very yin and yang. The ninja in black, the ninja in white.
You are the only brother I've ever known. I would pay you back with my life if I had to.
It was so important for us to get that relationship right in this movie. Larry gave us creative license to be able to tell a story beyond the comics and launch this brand new universe for G.I. Joe.
Una edición de película Update de Snake Eyes no estaría completa sin nuestra exclusiva con el protagonista, Henry Golden. Right, Mr. Golding, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about Snake Eyes. So, I mean, be honest with me in the sense that how you get to claim the character in a spectacular way in this film, but before you did that, how was it sort of tackling sort of the mystique or the expectations that come from such an iconic figure in the G.I. Joe universe? Because I don't know if it was easier to concentrate on the script, or how did you wrap your head that you were going to be this guy for us now?
Yeah, you know, there was a lot of expectations in terms of the lore of G.I. Joe and what was written in the comic books, but not necessarily easy to translate to a modern audience. And also a very much more global audience, because those books were, and kind of comics were written for sort of a very sort of concentrated audience in America. But for us to be able to explore more of his past and make more of a human connection with such an amazing character was so important. We needed to see his flaws. We needed to see kind of the issues and understand that he's like a guy like you and me. He second guesses himself. He has motivations that are perhaps nefarious and not for the greater good, because he needs to accomplish what he feels is necessary. Those were all the things that we wanted to layer within this first movie.
So you have a legendary, you know, stunt master taking care of you. But one of the things that really impressed me from the behind the scenes that we've been able to see is something that everybody sort of mentioned, that it's not about looking good for the camera or making the stunt work for the camera, is that you guys discovered character while training. So was that a surprise for you, that you sort of keyed in while going through the ringer in terms of looking good for camera?
No, to be honest, us meeting Snake before the training, we get to see his style evolve. As soon as he goes to the Rashikage, he starts learning the way of the ninja and the samurai. But for him, right at the beginning, we see him as a scrapper, a guy who's been through life having to fend for himself and protect himself at all costs. And in whatever way and however physically he has to do that, he will scrap tooth and nail. But we see that ferocity kind of transition and evolve, but we still see his relentlessness. Even with all that training, he's like a rabid dog at times, because whatever you do to him, he will always attack, and he will never give up.
Do you share that determination with your character, that sort of focus, not necessarily the rabbitness, but do you think you have to be?
In life, 100%, and in work for sure.
Okay.
If I say I'm going to dedicate myself to something like this role, I will give 110% to it, and ensure that I physically attempt to do everything as much as possible, and that's exactly what we did.
No, it shows on screen, so hats off to you. So One of the things that I love, this is not your first leading role, but you've been able to do different things. You know, all the leads that you had, they're different types of movies. Is that are you being careful in what you choose, or are you actually being offered all sorts of stuff and you get to sort of pick what you want?
I think you have to curate a choice of movies very, very carefully, because you don't want to get stuck in a realm that you're notorious for, like rom-coms or comedies, or, you know, especially early on and in the sort of the fledgling career that I've had. My first movie was Crazy Rich Asians, which we filmed 4 years ago. So up until that point, it's always been discovering roles that would enlarge the spectrum of taste. And so now hitting the action realm, I think this opens up a tremendous more sort of opportunity in areas which I thoroughly love and kind of grew up with, which is sci-fi action, kind of action thrillers. But of course, it's always fun to be a part of a romantic comedy once in a while, or a comedy. So yeah, it just broadens the perspective a little bit.
Happy you get to do it all. My time is up. Take care wherever you are. Stay safe, okay?
Stay safe, you
Bye.
too.